Hey, what's up, fantasy fans? I'm dropping in again to do the next video for my rankings, and it's going to be in the description as the top 40 running backs. But again, like I did with quarterbacks a few minutes ago, I'm just doing the top 5 in terms of my explanation of who I chose. And we're going to start with my number 1 running back and my number 1 overall draft pick in terms of if in standard leagues or the person I'd be targeting in auctions, and that would be Le'Veon Bell. To me, there's nothing he doesn't do well, and he showed it all of last year before he got injured. There's only 2 concerns with why he isn't the clear number 1 pick among running backs and among the draft. One, you're going to miss 2 games with him, so that's making a lot of fantasy players hesitant. 2 games is, that's an eighth, just under an eighth of the season, so it makes sense to me. But at the same time, what's 2 games when you can plug and play and have a guy that good? The only other concern is that knee injury that he had at the end of the season. Is he 100% recovered from it? Word is yes. He had been saying recently no, but it's been no talk that is putting a fright out there to where it would make me steer clear of him, even as number 1. So it's just all that he brings to the table. He is everything to that team, him and Antonio Brown. So it's not even a question with me. I'll lose the 2 games and then get somebody like an Alfred Blue, later in the draft to plug and play for him for the first 2 weeks and then be fine with him when he comes in week 3. So that's my number 1 right there. Number 2, Adrian Peterson. There's a lot of question marks about AP because all practical purposes, we've missed an entire season of him. We have no idea if he's polished and crisp like he's always been. We don't know if that wall where his amount of years and his mileage has truly caught up to him. And we don't know where he is in terms of his headspace. But I'm going to put all my chips in on AP when it comes down to it. This dude is a steel beast. There's nothing that he can't do out there when he's running. When he's at his best, there is no one that can touch him. This guy, the only reason he's not number 1 is because of the question marks. But when he's right, you know that he's indestructible. And he's got this contract thing clear. It seems like the Vikings and him are on the same page right now. And he's got Teddy Bridgewater and a budding young team. So it's a lot of potential for him to be just as good. And when he plays and when he's injury free and when he's got a clear path of success in front of him without injury, he's never disappointed. So I think it's going to be more of the same. So look for Adrian Peterson to be just as good as he's always been. That's what I'm hoping for. Number 3, Eddie Lacy. He was number 2 in my rankings when I first did him, but with Jordy Nelson going down, that made everybody drop a little bit with the exception of 2 people. Devontae Adams, for sure, he went from like my 40th wide receiver to my 18th. And Randle Cobb also has a slight bump up. It could be a detriment, but I think it is definitely going to be somewhat of a problem for Eddie Lacy. They're going to be more inclined to load the box to stop him. But loading the box on him doesn't really matter because this dude is like a juggernaut. He's going to run straight through you. He likes to hit you, and he will take the brunt of a hit to lay it on you, and he's good at it. And besides a few injuries in his career, he's been very durable. And besides that shaky start due to that tough schedule last year, he rebounded and became easily worth his early draft selection last year. So look for him to be just as good as he's been and even better. But again, be cautious of what Jordy Nelson being missing is going to do to the team across the board. But he's still my number 3. Number 4, Marshawn Lynch. Everybody's waiting and they keep saying the same thing. Will Marshawn Lynch start to decline? Will he start to decline here? Is he going to retire? Is it this? There's a lot of question marks with him because he's a mercurial guy. He's not one of those guys that does any talking, not a lot of talking. He doesn't talk at all. He's just one of those players that you can't really put a finger on. But where you can know what he's going to do is when he's out on that field, and he's going to be out there this year, and he's still the #1 option on that team. They're going to go through him. Everything's going to go through the running game, and as long as that's there and he's there, his potential for having a high numbers for fantasy and real life are sky high. So, and he's always been a pretty durable player too. So you might see some decline this season, but we thought it last season, or we even thought it the year before. So let's ride this ride while it's still going. And as long as he's the guy that doesn't do a lot of talking and does the action, hey, I'm rolling with him. So Marshawn Lynch is easily my #4. And #5, Jamaal Charles. For anyone that has him ranked 4, 3, 2, or even 1, I don't blame you. He's got all the talent for it. He's a two-way dual player. He can catch, he can run. He's quicker than nearly everybody else here. But he's had some durability issues, some injury concerns over his career. Had a little bit of it last year. But more than anything, it's Andy Reid's usage of him. I'm hearing that's going to change this year. But last year, they didn't use him enough to me, and I'm not necessarily seeing that becoming any more, you know, and especially in terms of his pass catching. They got Jeremy Maclin out there. That's not going to make it necessarily shorten, but they finally have an option that they can use even out of the backfield with Maclin, because he's much better than Dwayne Bowe or anything like that. So I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be that much less that caused that much alarm, because the talent is so much with Charles that he's just lights out. And hopefully Andy Reid uses him better. But again, not worth more than 5 to me. Now, if y'all think he's better for y'all, feel free to do it. He's got the talent to do it and the potential to beat any of these guys. But for me, he's the #5. And as for the rest of the rankings, they're going to be in the description. Like I said, it's going to be my top 40. And I'm going to be probably changing my rankings on Twitter. Sorry about that. I had to put everything what I was just saying on pause, but I was almost finished with the video. Like I said, I'm going to be putting my rankings on Twitter up until the season starts. It'll be some changes as things happen in the preseason, as injuries come up, or as my mind changes in terms of rankings. So look for any changes there. Again, subscribe here, follow me on Twitter, ask questions there on Twitter, because that's where I see them better. If you want to ask questions here, that's fine, whatever you want to do. So look forward to your questions and answering them, and hit me up. All right, take care.